Imagine, you are a highly trained Royal Naval officer back in the 1700s.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right. And you have just successfully boarded a pirate vessel. Swords are drawn, muskets are firing. I mean, the air is just thick with gun smoke.
Pure chaos.
Pure chaos. And you spot a pirate retreating down the main hatch, so you charge right after him. You rush from this blinding midday Caribbean sun straight down into the wooden hull of the ship.
Which is basically a cave.
Exactly. And suddenly, you are completely, helplessly blind. I mean, you literally can't see your own hands. You are stumbling in the pitch black.
But that pirate waiting for you down in the dark,
Yeah.
he can see you perfectly. He's actually been waiting for you to make this exact move.
Which is terrifying. And today, we are looking at how a simple, scrap of leather completely changed the course of maritime warfare.
Yeah, and why one of history's most iconic fashion statements was, well, actually a brilliant tactical weapon.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are thrilled you're joining us because our mission today is to take a seemingly simple topic and completely flip a universally known, instantly recognizable pop culture trope right on its head.
We are finally going to figure out why pirates actually wore eye patches.
Yes, and to guide us, we are pulling insights from a really specific stack of sources that you've provided us. There's this fantastic quick-hit audio explainer that just cuts through all the historical noise.
It's so good.
And that's paired with a highly detailed thematic visual source. It's this image featuring a Lego pirate, of all things, surrounded by scattered gold coins, a parchment map, and some deeply revealing pirate lore.
I love the Lego image. It serves as a perfect anchor for this discussion, really.
Yeah.
Because it plays directly on the tension between the myth we all know and the reality we are about to uncover.
Right. And we're going to tease the core aha moment for you right out of the gate here. The eye patch, it wasn't about missing eyes.
No, not at all.
It wasn't about covering up gruesome battle scars either. And it certainly wasn't about, trying to look edgy or intimidating to rival crews.
Our mission today is to uncover how this classic fashion accessory was, in reality, a highly functional biohack.
A biohack. I mean, to understand the true genius of this, we first have to fully deconstruct the myth we've all been sold.
Right, because we have been spoon-fed this idea that the patch inherently equals a permanent traumatic injury.
The narrative connection here is just so strong. I mean, think about every pirate movie, every theme park ride, or even like the Halloween costume you wore as a kid.
Oh yeah, the old plastic hook and the patch.
Exactly. The audio source brings up these specific assumptions that we just blindly accept. We assume pirates rock that classic eye patch because they lost a bar fight or maybe had a terrible accident involving a rogue parrot.
Right, the classic parrot incident.
Yeah, or we assume it's purely psychological warfare, like they just wanted to look extra edgy while standing on the quarterdeck.
Which is just a pervasive pop culture myth. I
Oh,
mean, we naturally categorize these things as pure, unadulterated style or, a marker of violence. We just assume the patch is covering an empty socket.
But here is the massive twist from our sources that just shatters the whole Halloween costume industry. According to the audio explainer, most pirates sailing the high seas actually had both of their eyes perfectly intact.
Wait, really? Both eyes perfectly intact?
Both eyes fully functional. The patch wasn't a bandage at all.
Wow. Looking at the source image you shared today, it brilliantly captures this tension.
It really does. Let's paint the picture of this visual for you. Front and center, you have this classic Lego pirate figure. He's sporting the quintessential skull and crossbones on his black bicorn hat, a thick black beard, and this elaborate red captain's coat.
Very dapper.
Super dapper. And he is in the middle of this incredibly dramatic action. He is gripping his tiny Lego eye patch with his little yellow hook hand, pulling it slightly away from his face with absolute dramatic flair.
He looks incredibly mysterious in that pose. And he's surrounded by these scattered gold coins, which also have skulls stamped on them, adding to that whole intimidating aesthetic.
Right.
But the crucial part of this image isn't just the Lego figure posing, it's the text embedded in the environment around him.
Yeah, point that out.
So to his left, there is this weathered wooden sign nailed to a post, and stamped on it in dark lettering are the words, "Not just for looks."
A direct challenge to the fashion myth right there in the scenery.
Exactly. And taking that a step further, down in the lower right corner, there is a crinkled, aged parchment map with a brass compass resting on it.
Oh, yeah, the map.
On that map is a sketch of a heavily bearded pirate, and right next to him, pointing directly to the concept of the eye patch, are the words, Practical, not random.
Okay, let's unpack this because this is where my brain immediately hits a wall.
Okay, lay on me.
Practical, not random. If you have two perfectly good, functioning, healthy eyes, why in the world would you voluntarily blind yourself in one of them?
It does seem crazy.
Right. I mean, you're on a dangerous pirate galleon. You're dealing with complex rigging, rough seas, volatile weather, and potentially hostile vessels on the horizon.
Isn't peripheral vision kind of critically important for your basic survival? Yeah, covering up half your field of vision seems like a terrible tactical decision on paper.
Exactly. It sounds completely counterintuitive, like a self-imposed liability in a profession where situational awareness is literally everything.
It does.
So why do it? Why handicap your own vision?
Well, to answer that, we have to look closely at the actual environmental problem these pirates faced on a daily basis.
Mhm.
The source audio points out this extreme shift in lighting that defined their workplace.
Okay.
Think about the stark contrast of a wooden ship at sea in the 1700s. Above deck, you have this blinding, intense, unyielding sunlight reflecting off the open ocean.
Oh, yeah. And no sunglasses back then.
None.
Oh.
There's zero shade.
Yeah.
You are just baking in an incredible, bright, harsh glare.
And then, the moment you step below deck into the hull of the ship where the supplies, the cannons, and the crew quarters are, the environment flips entirely.
It's pitch black.
Pitch black darkness. There are no large windows down there, no electric lights, just a few scattered lanterns if you're really lucky. It is a completely lightless environment.
You are moving from a blinding solar glare into a literal black hole.
What's fascinating here is the biological bottleneck this creates. I mean, the human eye is an incredible organ, but it has a built-in mechanical lag.
Right. The audio mentions this biological adjustment. Let's dive into the mechanism of why that actually happens.
Let's do it.
So, your retina relies on two types of photoreceptor cells, cones and rods. The cones are great for seeing color and fine detail in that bright Caribbean sunlight above deck.
Right.
But when you plunge into the darkness of the hull, your cones become pretty much useless. You have to rely on your rods, which are highly sensitive to low light.
But the rods don't just, like, instantly turn on when you walk down the stairs, right?
Yeah. They don't. And that's because of a specific light-sensitive chemical inside them called rhodopsin, often referred to as visual purple.
Visual purple, got it.
When you are standing on the main deck in the blinding sun, the intense light completely bleaches out the rhodopsin in your eyes. It is totally depleted.
Oh.
So when you suddenly run down into the dark hull, your rods have no visual purple left to process the low light. Your body has to physically synthesize and regenerate that chemical from scratch.
Which takes a significant amount of time, I'm guessing.
It takes up to 30 minutes for your eyes to fully dark adapt and regenerate that rhodopsin. During that window, you are functionally blind.
30 minutes? That's wild. Think of your night vision like a rechargeable battery then.
That's a good way to look at it.
When you are standing in the bright sun, that battery is drained down to absolute zero. When you step into the dark, you can't just flip a light switch. You have to wait for that battery to slowly, painstakingly recharge before your internal screen turns back on.
That is a perfect way to visualize the mechanism. You're literally waiting on a chemical recharge.
And the audio source uses a fantastic analogy to describe how agonizing this biological bottleneck actually feels, and it ties back perfectly to our visual source.
Oh, the Lego analogy.
Yes. It says that switching from that blinding sunlight to the pitch black darkness below deck is exactly like walking into a Lego brick barefoot.
So painful, disorienting, and slow.
Right. You are totally vulnerable. It's such a visceral image because we all know that exact type of agony, just stumbling blindly in the middle of the night and stepping on a tiny, sharp plastic brick.
It's the worst.
It is. But to ground this in something you might experience today, beyond the hazard of stray toys on the floor, it's like when you walk into a totally dark movie theater straight out of a sunny Sunday afternoon.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You open those heavy theater doors and you just hit a solid wall of black.
Yes, you are completely helpless. You're stumbling down the aisle. You can't see the stairs. You're like apologizing to people whose feet you're stepping on. You can't even read the seat numbers.
You just have to stand there for a minute.
Exactly. For a solid few minutes, you are entirely compromised until your eyes finally start to adjust to the dark room. Now imagine experiencing that exact helplessness. But instead of trying to find a plush red seat while holding a bucket of popcorn, you're in the middle of a high-stakes maritime raid.
Right. During a battle or a sudden storm, those minutes of blindness are not a minor inconvenience. They are a fatal vulnerability.
Yeah, you could die.
You literally cannot afford to be fumbling in the dark, waiting for your rhodopsin to regenerate when hostile sailors are actively trying to kill you, or when you need to urgently find a powder keg to load a cannon.
So the transition itself is the danger. The extreme lighting contrast creates a massive window of total defenselessness.
And this is where the ingenuity comes in. If you are a pirate and you know you have this guaranteed biological blind spot where you are entirely defenseless, well, how do you solve it?
Right, you don't have electricity, you don't have night vision goggles.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the deep dive naturally transitions to the pirates' brilliant solution. They didn't invent new technology. They hacked their own biology using a simple piece of leather and a string.
It's so clever. Let's break down the mechanics of this hack from the audio explainer.
The simplicity of the solution is what makes it so historically elegant, really.
So a pirate would keep one eye covered with the patch while they were above deck, working in the bright, blinding sun. So one eye, let's say the right eye, is entirely exposed.
Right.
It's taking in all the glare, functioning normally using the cone cells, tracking the horizon. But the other eye, the left eye, which is covered by the patch, is sitting in total fabricated darkness.
Because it is shielded from the sun, the rhodopsin in that patched eye is fully regenerated.
Yes, that eye is already completely adjusted to the dark.
So the battery in the patched eye is kept at 100% charge.
Exactly. So the moment the pirate needed to sprint below deck into the dark hull, they didn't have to wait 30 minutes for their eyes to adjust.
They would simply slide the patch to the other eye.
Just slide it over. They'd cover the sun-blinded right eye and expose the dark-adjusted left eye,
bypassing the biological bottleneck completely.
The audio literally describes the result as, boom, instant night vision.
Instant.
I just love picturing the Lego pirate from our source image in this new context. The audio asks us to imagine a Lego pirate yanking off his patch, his eyes wide, suddenly able to see perfectly through the dark.
Which is an amazing visual.
It is, and that detail completely recontextualizes the dramatic flair we talked about in the image. When he's gripping that patch with his hook, he's not just posing for a portrait, he is actively deploying a tactical tool.
He is physically activating his night vision. And this perfectly aligns with the remaining text clues scattered across that parchment map in the source image.
Oh, right. Let's look at those.
If we look closely at that map again, right above the sketch of the bearded pirate, it explicitly says, "See in the dark." And over on the right side, it gives the command, "Stay ready at all times."
Stay ready at all times. I mean, that is the defining philosophy of this hack, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It completely eliminates that agonizing window of vulnerability. They don't have to wait for the chemical recharge. They are perpetually ready for the environmental shift. Both of our sources point to this incredible level of agility. The audio even describes a pirate utilizing this trick as a sea ninja.
Sea ninja captures the essence perfectly, I think. It emphasizes exactly what this hack provided: stealth, speed, and an unnatural level of readiness.
Unnatural to everyone else, anyway.
Right. They could move through the bowels of a ship, navigating around cannons, hammocks, and structural beams with an agility that seemed almost superhuman to anyone else who was just stumbling in the dark.
Which brings us to the broader consequences of this trick. I mean, a hack this brilliant isn't just a neat party trick to help you find a barrel of rum in the dark. It has massive life-or-death tactical implications when you are actively fighting enemies at sea.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the tactical advantage here is just staggering. The audio source explicitly notes that the Royal Navy was genuinely shocked by this capability.
And let's contextualize the Royal Navy for a second. They were the most powerful, highly trained, heavily funded, disciplined maritime force on the planet at the time.
By far.
They had the best weapons and the best tactical manuals.
So picture the scenario we started the show with. You have these highly trained, deeply disciplined, but ultimately unpatched naval officers boarding a pirate vessel.
Okay, setting the scene.
The fight starts on the bright, sunlit main deck. The naval officers are doing well, pushing the pirates back. But then the fight naturally moves down the hatches into the pitch-black lower decks.
Right.
The naval officers plunge into the dark hull and are immediately hit with that dialogical lag. Their rhodopsin is completely bleached. They are functionally blind, fumbling, essentially walking into that dark movie theater we talked about.
They are completely compromised. They can't see the structural beams, let alone the edge of a cutlass swinging at them.
Exactly. But waiting for them in the dark are these sea ninjas. The pirates simply swap their patches as they run down the stairs. Their pupils in the exposed eye are already dilated, the visual purple is fully active, and they have instant clear vision in a pitch-black room.
It's almost unfair.
It really is. They can effortlessly navigate the dark hull of the ship during the raid. It gave a ragtag group of outlaws a massive, terrifying edge over a vastly superior military force.
I mean, imagine the psychological terror of that. To be a naval officer, trained to the highest degree, confident in your superiority, and suddenly you are being completely outmaneuvered and dismantled in the dark by an enemy who seemingly possesses magical night vision.
They must have thought the pirates were supernatural.
Right. It explains exactly why the Royal Navy was so shocked. The British Empire was playing by the rigid rules of human biology, and the pirates had just found a loophole.
They weaponized their own anatomy against an enemy that just didn't understand the trick.
So what does this all mean? When we look at the stack of sources, the audio breakdown of the environment, and the visual clues hiding in plain sight on a Lego pirate map, it leads to a pretty incredible conclusion.
It does.
Pirates have been completely misunderstood by history and by pop culture. They weren't just these edgy fashion icons trying to look intimidating.
Nope.
They weren't just a tragic collection of maimed brawlers with terrible luck around parrots. They were, as the source audio emphatically states, basically the original life hack masters.
It completely elevates their historical standing, I think.
Yeah.
It moves them from the category of crude, uneducated criminals to highly adaptive, tactical innovators.
Absolutely.
They understood their environment intimately and manipulated it to their advantage.
They took a severe, inescapable biological limitation, the human eye's inability to adjust quickly to light changes, and solved it with a scrap of leather and a string. It's brilliant in its simplicity.
This raises an important question, though, especially when we think about how you view historical ingenuity.
Yeah, how so?
Well, we have a terrible habit in the modern world of looking back at ancient or historical peoples and assuming their choices were purely primitive, superstitious, or just aesthetically driven.
Oh, for sure.
We see a strange piece of clothing, an odd tool, or a bizarre accessory in a historical painting, and we assume it was just a weird fashion trend of the time. But this deep dive forces us to consider how ancient people used highly practical, incredibly sophisticated biohacks that we now entirely mistake for mere aesthetics.
That's such a good point, because they didn't have silicon chips, digital displays, or infrared night vision goggles. We just assume they weren't optimizing their bodies and their gear for peak performance.
Exactly.
But they absolutely were. They understood their bodies perfectly.
They were optimizing with the exact tools they had available in their era. The eye patch is just a perfect example of a low-tech, high-yield biological hack.
It really is a perfect reframe of the era. So, to wrap up our deep dive today, the next time you see a pirate, whether it's a guy in a cheesy Halloween costume, an actor swashbuckling in a summer blockbuster movie, or even a tiny Lego pirate staring back at you from a toy box.
Remember what you learned today.
Exactly. Remember that the patch is not about a missing eye. It's not about a tragic parrot incident or looking tough. It is a finely tuned instrument for seeing in the dark.
It is the ultimate symbol of tactical survival and instant night vision.
And of course, as our audio source brilliantly points out at the very end with a great little joke, maybe, just maybe, it was also used for hiding from laundry day.
You never know.
You never know. A little multi-purpose utility never hurt a sea ninja. When you're out on the high seas for a month at a time, you probably take whatever advantages you can get.
A very fair point. Practicality comes in many forms.
But seriously, it's a revelation that completely shifts our perspective.
Yeah.
Which leaves us with one final thought for you to mull over as you go about your day. If one of the most defining, universally recognized, seemingly edgy fashion statements in human history was actually a highly optimized, highly practical biohack designed for survival, what other historical styles or visual quirks are we completely misunderstanding today simply because we've forgotten the harsh environments our ancestors actually lived in?